This is for all adults that have not been diagnosed with Asperger syndrome yet. Specifically if you're over 30. So if you're still in high school in 1994, this applies to you. Or all those people that were done with high school by 1994, this applies to you. And this also applies to people, adults, that believe maybe another adult may have Asperger syndrome. This has to do with boundaries and how they apply to having Asperger syndrome. The other day, my father called me about a week ago and wanted to share with me that he got a new radio. I guess it had a turntable and a tape deck in it, and he was very happy because he could listen to his music and whatnot. But as I shared before, either on this channel or another channel, my father is very long-winded. He does not let me speak a word when he calls me. He saw me last like 2 years ago, but prior to that was 1997 when I went out to Abilene, Texas to see him. So I guess he feels that he's getting more comfortable with me because we're talking to each other more. Probably well, it used to be once a month, and prior to that it was probably about once every 6 months we would call each other, but now it's once a month or more that we talk. But usually when we talk on the phone, it's usually him talking. It's usually all him. And it's very difficult for me to get a word in edgewise, and if I do, it's because I ask a question, and he'll go on for an hour asking the question, but he doesn't just answer the question, he talks about many other things too. Very difficult for me to get off the phone with him. And usually if I talk, it's usually I have to talk over him, or tell him, hey Dad, I gotta get off the phone, I gotta go, I can't stay. Or if I don't do that, I'll just stay on the phone with him, and it's very draining. But last week he called, and in the middle of the conversation he popped a question to me, which he's done before. Very inconsiderate and not proper boundaries. And the question was, do you know why that lady that I married when you were a teenager, do you know why she divorced me? And I didn't want to say what, sex, because I knew he would go there. But it doesn't really matter if I said what, sex. He would go there anyway, which he did, which I knew he would. Because he's like that. He'll share things with me even if I don't want to know them. Because he's totally oblivious to if I'm interested in the subject or not. And I said, what, Dad? And, I said it in a way that should have suggested to him that I really don't want to go there. But I said, what, Dad? And he said, it was sex! And then he proceeded to say, he didn't even pause, he goes, she thought I was a sex-crazed lunatic male that wanted sex 4 or 5 times a day, and I only wanted it 5 days a week. I cringed, and I said, Dad, come on, really? I'm your daughter. I'm not your wife. I'm not your girlfriend. I'm not your doctor, and I'm certainly not your therapist. You don't share that kind of stuff with your daughter or your son. I mean, I don't even think you'd want to share that with your brother or sister. Sorry. Maybe your best friend. I can see sharing that with your best friend. But he's my dad, and he always says stuff like, okay, you're an adult. I can't talk about sex with you. All he had to say was, we divorced because of sex. I understand what that means. I'm a grown woman. I understand what that means. I don't know why he has to go into detail about it, but I guess he feels that I don't understand, or I don't know what it is. And it's a boundary issue, and it's a serious boundary issue. So if anyone knows Bill Gregston in Abilene, Texas, and knows where he lives, please help him get a diagnosis of Asperger syndrome so he can get help. And the other thing is, please let him know that he doesn't need to share his sexual conversations that he had with his ex-wife back in the whatever it was, early 90s, because I don't need to know. If his wife wanted to tell him, and if his wife at the time had the view that he was a sex-crazed lunatic and she divorced him, that's fine. That's between him and his wife. I don't need to know why she divorced him. The only reason why I would be concerned with some details of sex with my parents is if, for example, if I did not live here with my mom and I knew she had a boyfriend, and if one day I come over here to visit her and her boyfriend was gone, if I saw bruises all over her body or if I saw bruises on her face, I'd want to check to see if there's bruises on her back or anywhere else. And I'd ask, what is this guy doing to you? He's beating you up, obviously. I mean, if you got bruises all over you have two black eyes and maybe a bruise on your shoulder or something like that, that's not due to falling down or anything like that. And I would want to know, is this guy not only physically harming you and beating you, is he raping you? I'd want to know that. But other than that, I don't need to know the details. If I suspected that my mom and she had a boyfriend were pretty good relationship, and he was treating her right, I would not ask my mom, "Hey mom, how's your sex life? What's going on? How often do you have sex?" I would not ask that question. That's a boundary issue. You just don't go there. That the only person you do maybe is your best friend. And yeah, my father doesn't seem to understand this, and he's like 60 something, like 62 now. And I don't know if he's ever going to get a diagnosis with AS, but he damn sure has the the characteristics of AS. And hell if I know when I'm going to get a diagnosis of AS. But I guess I have to have children first. But yeah, my father is like totally AS, and he needs to really he needs to get help with the boundary issues, because that's just going over the line. And I'm not calling him back today because it's Sunday, and if I do call him back, it's 2:30. He'll be on the phone with me 3 hours, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be drained on a Sunday. Nuh-uh. I'll have to call him sometime in the morning, not in the afternoon, because if I call in the afternoon, we're gonna be on the phone till like 6 o'clock at night. I don't want to do that. So please, if you know Bill Gregston, help him out.